So Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. But more specifically, though, it represents the day when Union troops arrived to Galveston, Texas, to inform slaves directly that they were at that time, in fact, free. It's been said that Texas specifically had somehow not received the information that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, freeing their slaves. But more likely, they had this information but chose not to free their slaves because they really weren't being forced to. The picture that you see here is a really good depiction of what Juneteenth is all about. You can see in the background that the slave master, who's wearing the black hat, is arguing with the troops who were there to liberate the slaves and protect them on their way out. And then you can see in the foreground that the general of the troops is announcing to the slaves, again, directly to them, that they are now free. So it's a really wonderful depiction of why this day is remembered. But I have to admit that at first I was kind of confused when I learned about Juneteenth, because I couldn't understand why we chose to celebrate this day when it seems like there might be more appropriate days to celebrate the liberation of slaves. So let's go to the next slide there. So something that I thought was, why not January 1st, which is the anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the day when it was signed into law that all slaves are free. So surely that's the day of freedom, when it was a legal right to be free. Or what about December 6th? That's the anniversary of when the 13th Amendment mandated that neither slavery nor servitude shall exist any longer. And then, of course, there's June 19th, the day when the Union troops enforced the liberation of slaves. And I had to ask myself, which one of these days really looks the most like freedom and is therefore most worthy of celebration? Is it the proclamation that slaves are free on January 1st? Is it the amendment that says that all slaves are free? Or is it the day when slaves actually walked away free? And the answer was very clear. On June 19th, an advocate had come to stand between the slaves and their masters so that they could actually go free. The parallel to the Christian faith is striking. Not that any army general could be likened to Jesus, but that freedom is about walking, living, and breathing an entirely new reality. So what does it say to not celebrate the day when people became free by law, but rather to celebrate the day when the chains were gone? It says that we don't celebrate a piece of paper that says freedom. We celebrate actual freedom. It also says that it doesn't matter that slaves were free in other states. We don't celebrate until all slaves are free, until the message gets to Texas and their slaves are also free. It says that no one is liberated until everyone is liberated. Until it applies to all of us, it really doesn't apply to any of us. Let's go to the next slide. So if we follow this to 1954, if we follow this logic to 1954, the start of the civil rights movement, this logic says it's not enough to be free, but we need to be equal. Fast forward to 2013, it says it's not enough to be equal, we need to be valued. It says that all lives can't matter until all lives actually matter, including Black and brown lives. Liberation isn't about passing law after law after law after law. Law is a great step in the right direction, but it doesn't empower people to change. It obligates them to do something differently, but we want a whole new way of being and treating each other. Let's go to the next slide. And if we rewind back to the time of Jesus's life on earth, this logic says that it's not enough for the 99 to be covered if the one is not. It says that every single person is precious in God's sight, and as members of the kingdom of God, we are to live that and be that for others. And so I'm proud that we've chosen the day of actual freedom to celebrate it. Really, it's a very profound choice. And let's go to the final slide. Isaiah 1:17 says, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. There's an opportunity before us to advocate for the oppressed. That opportunity is present every single day, whether there is an uprising or not. The cost of loving our neighbor is a high one, but so is the calling to be a member of the family of Christ. And as a church, we want to stay committed to this conversation and this responsibility of ours for the long haul. We want to bring about another day of freedom and justice like June 19th, 1865. We want to see and feel and testify to that liberation. And that liberation is the right of every living being on God's earth.